Hey guys, this is Molly McCraw. I wanted to go ahead and do a video to respond um, to our first discussion about chapter one. And I'm sorry if I sound a little hoarse. It's the third week of school. I'm having to do a lot of calling down kids, so I'm sorry. I hope that you can hear me. But I wanted to respond to two of the questions because I kind of felt like they kind of coincided with each other a little bit. And so I want to respond to what is education and how do learners learn. And so I wanted to just kind of give my insight and some of the things that I took away from the chapter. And just kind of give my insight on what I've learned as a teacher. This is my fourth year teaching, second grade, same classroom, same school, not the same kids, obviously. So I've seen lots of different kids, and I've just learned a lot about the age group that I teach. And that could give me a very narrow mindset, but I also think that it's good because I get a really good idea of what their minds kind of go through. And that's kind of what our book's about. So, the first question is, what is education? We even in the book, it even said people normally think of education as, going to school and doing work, and you have to do math, reading, spelling. That's kind of what I go through on a day to day basis. And while I do think that education is about going to school and learning, it's also about how we learn. And excuse me, I have my notes, so I'm sorry if I look down. But education, I feel, is all about how we learn. And so that's kind of how I thought that both of the questions fit together. Education to me is about how we learn and what modality of learning we fall into and helps us be most successful. I've just gotten off some phone conferences with some parents, and they're giving me more insight about who their child is as a learner. I also did kind of a learner self check assessment kind of with my students. I had a chart, and it said how we learn best. Like, the title was How We Learn Best. And it said, I am a visual learner, and I kind of talked about what that means. I am an auditory learner, and I talked about what that means. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I probably didn't use that, but I probably put I have to move around to learn, and I told them what that means. And then there was another section of all. I am all three. Like, I am the learner that needs to. I'm an auditory, visual, and I need to move around learner. And we just kind of talked about what that means. And my kids were actually very honest. And so that gave me a little bit of insight on how they learn. And so I feel like I got a lot of information just from that, about how my students learn and just about how I learn. And it's really awesome because I get to share with them how I learn best. And so I think education really is about how we learn, and what works best for us. Uh, I also feel that education is an opportunity for us to improve our minds. That was in the book as also, and I really agreed with that. Education is not just sitting in class. It's a time to improve on a skill that we've learned, or a topic that our teacher has taught us, or maybe just learning procedures and rules and manners, and just different life skills. And so, going back to the book, I thought it was interesting how they talked about how we're not just improving our mind through academics, but education is also improving our minds through life experiences. There have been so many times where I have done things and I've experienced things, and learned so much more from those things rather than sitting in a classroom. I was the student that really, I didn't try very hard in high school. I wasn't the kind that could just sit there. I'm very ADD. I'm the kind of person that I need to be doing something. I need to experience something. And so many times in life, I feel like we experience things and we go through things and we do things and we meet new people, and we can learn so much from that alone. And we might not even be learning like an actual topic. And so, not only should education be sitting in a classroom, learning new subjects, learning new topics, but it should also include new life experiences and just experiences in the classroom, experiments, different activities that lend themselves more towards other learning modalities. So it's not, education is not just about improving your multiplication skills or your division skills or learning about World War II. It's about getting those experiences through field trips, through meeting new teachers, from meeting new students, making new friends, getting classroom jobs, learning about leadership. It's all of those things in one. And so many times people mistake education for just sitting in the classroom and not actually going out and doing something. And I definitely thought, I agreed definitely with that from the book. School education is a place and an opportunity to teach us something, not just certain topics. And I thought that was very, very important. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Education should be seen as an opportunity to gain skills. Like so many times, a big issue, not an issue, but a big topic right now is, do people really need 4-year degrees? A lot of times now with the kids coming up in this generation, they, instead of going to a 4-year college and gaining a bachelor's degree, they might go to trade school and learn a different trade. And by learning a trade, that could be just as educational as getting a degree in math or science and learning all that factual knowledge, but instead going to learn a skill like welding or becoming a mechanic. Those don't really, you learn factual knowledge, but you also gain a lot of different experiences and a lot of lifelong skills that are useful for the future. And so, kind of to go back to the question of how do we learn, it's all about going back to, you need to find out like what modality of learning that you fit best with. And I think it's really important that you find that. Otherwise, you won't, education won't be, you won't be successful in your educational endeavors and opportunities, and it won't be as valuable. And so as a teacher, I always try, I teach second grade. So like my kids are like 7 and 8 years old, and sometimes 9. And as a teacher, I strive to instill a love for learning and education in my students. That way, each time that I want to teach them about a new topic or I want to teach them a new skill, they will be able to they'll want to learn about those things, and it will be educational for them, because they'll want to know more about it, and they'll be excited, and they'll be able to see the benefit and the future value of the things that I'm teaching them, and not just book work, and not just reading, and not even just skills in isolation, not even just being able to sit at your seat and work independently, not just being able to socialize with someone on the playground. I know that I'm talking a lot about younger students, but that's what I teach. And so that's really where my area of expertise is. But even growing up and being an adult now, I see so many adults, they're either really book smart, or they're really like they have a lot of common sense. And so somewhere there was a disconnect between for those people. I'm definitely one of those people. I was never a book smart person. I was always somebody that gained a lot of experience with skills, and I was never a factual learner. And in the book, it also talked about how factual recall and factual knowledge, that isn't going to be considered educational, because a lot of the things that our students are taught now, all the facts, like in science and history, sometimes those facts won't, and especially in math, like you don't always use all of the strategies and all of the math that they teach you in the higher level classes. And so somewhere there's been a disconnect of education actually being educational. And so I thought that was really important. And so we've got to find to help our students figure out how they learn, we have to find where that disconnect is. The balance between factual knowledge as well as teaching valuable lifelong skills. Or that's what I got from it. The last thing that I wrote for my notes was just that the mind is very complex, and that was a lot of in chapter 1, is how complex the mind is. And there's been, I mean, you could Google brain research, and there's been so much research done on the brain and just how it works and all the things that go on in it. And there's lots of diagrams with all the different colors of our brain when we're doing certain things, when we're experiencing certain things. And there's just lots of research on how complex the mind is. And while, yes, there are a lot of chemical reactions going on, there's still a lot that we don't know about what's actually going on up there. And I hope that through our book that we're reading, I hope that maybe I'll be able, at least for myself, to understand the mind a little bit more, because I've always thought it was really interesting about how everyone's mind works differently and how everyone's brain works differently, and just the different experiences that we each have and how they form us into a different person. And that kind of forms us into the learners that we are and how we learn. And so I think that that's a really interesting topic, and I hope that maybe I can gain some more insight about that through this reading and through this class and just the research that we'll be doing. And so just to recap, education, all about, it has to be not just factual knowledge, but also the experiences that we obtain and that we have in our lives. And how do learners learn? Through their experiences and through things that they go through in life. If you guys want to give me some feedback, that would be awesome. I hope that I answered this correctly. correctly and in a different way rather than just reading a post. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you later. Bye.